I'm Judith Phillips. I'm the Research Director for the Healthy Ageing Challenge. That's a £98 million initiative which enables businesses, including social enterprise, led by research, to develop and deliver services for people as they age. So there are 12 research projects which we're calling the Social Behaviour and Design Research Programme, which is integral to the Healthy Ageing Challenge. All the major global challenges that we face in the world today, like climate change, provision of clean water, and an ageing society, have social science at their heart. And we've very much taken an interdisciplinary approach, placing social science and arts and humanities at the forefront of our research programme.
I'm a researcher from Arts and Media, working on one of those 12 projects. My name's Tot Foster, and I'm loving working in our multidisciplinary team, relying heavily on knowledge from the social sciences. I was wondering why this approach is common to all the projects across the SBDRP programme.
So social science is really important to help us understand society and to help us manage societal issues. And I think one of the things that social science has done in the Healthy Ageing Challenge is really to enable business, older people and academics to really understand the relationship between them, and also work with policymakers and people who are implementing solutions, transforming the lives and the quality of life of older people.
In this podcast, I'm going to explore how social sciences, data, methods, ideas have been pivotal to fruitful relationships between diverse stakeholders.
Social science has been providing an evidence base for businesses to engage with an ageing market, whether that's engaging with consumers, engaging with their workforce. But we've got all the projects providing evidence. So one good example is the SHORE project, which is looking at health at work and providing employers with data on that so that they can tailor-make their interventions to their workforce.
My name's Chris Phillips, and I'm one of the co-investigators of SHORE, and that's supporting healthy ageing at work. And the aim is to co-design innovative workplace interventions to support health and well-being in the workplace. And of course, this has become a really important issue, given that 1 in 3 workers are 50 and over. Now, I think SHORE is unique in having people involved in policy, in sociology, in job redesign, ergonomics, and that's reflected in the different elements in SHORE. There's a quantitative element, which is using large data sets. Then there's a qualitative element. And one of the features of that work has been to look at what we might call hidden health problems. These are issues which people might face in the workplace: menopause, sleep, cognitive issues, but they might find it difficult to express and raise those within a workplace setting. So this has been developing ways in which people can monitor and better articulate their own health and well-being needs. This is going to culminate in the development of an app.
Social science explores new methods and innovative ways of asking questions, doing the research, and the social context that is needed for research to be translated into practice to help people improve their lives.
I think it is partly the methods that we use in social science, which in this case get as close to people as possible. So social science can highlight how people feel that they're not safe within workplace settings for expressing their views. And also, I think, touch on issues which are very sensitive. Women, for example, talking about going through the menopause are completely ignored in the workplace. I mean, that's a difficult topic, which social science methods, I think, can be important in revealing. And then also, of course, social science suggesting ways of intervening in the workplace, developing policies which can address these issues, that, of course, is equally important.
One of the commonalities relating to methods across the whole programme is that all the projects have elements of co-design built in from the start, and this has strengthened the links of academia and business which are at the heart of the programme.
One of the things businesses have been telling us is that traditionally they've seen co-design as just engaging with older people, so having a focus group and consulting with older people. What our social scientists have been doing is actually engaging older people from the start with business and taking them through a whole co-design, co-production process. So it's not just engaging them occasionally, testing products with them. They've actually been sat around the design table with business from the start. And I think that's helped in challenging assumptions, challenging expectations as well, both from older people and from businesses themselves. And I think social science has been really integral in developing the methodology around that and engaging new ways in getting closer to the people who are actually going to benefit from products and services. Social science has also helped businesses to challenge their own thinking and to challenge the stereotypes and assumptions they have about older people through that co-production process. And social science has brokered those kind of relationships, and not just with older people, but also between businesses and academics.
And that's exactly what has been happening on the project I work on. It's called Connecting Through Culture as We Age, and we've been pushing the boundaries of co-design, working with 18 older co-researchers, all of whom have been minoritised by race, disability or socioeconomic status, to work with partner organisations from the creative tech sector, creating new cultural products and experiences. The finished prototypes were designed both with and for older people, and so really spoke to their potential users with relevance and authenticity. And the creative technologists themselves experienced the benefits of having older people involved from the start, changing their practice for the future. Judith Phillips offered many more examples from across the SBDRP programme of bringing different stakeholders together to work on issues that face older people.
Social science has also explored new models of working. And for example, in one of our projects, the Deshka project, looking at designing homes for healthy cognitive ageing.
I'm Alison Bowes and I'm PI on the Deshka project.
And I am Kate Pemble, I am the Research Impact Fellow.
The core aim of Deshka is to develop and recommend home designs which can support us as we age cognitively. These are importantly informed by what older people want, but also by what is practical in the real world of home design.
The team have developed a new serious game which enables different disciplines and different sectors to come together to help in decision making.
Serious games involve professionals or experts by experience coming together and playing a simulation game which works through the issues that they're going to have to address.
So we prompt people to build their own house. So they have a kind of template board we start with, which has a ground story and a first story. And then we encourage groups of maybe 4 to 6 to choose one of those houses as the one that they're going to play with together. We then use the vignettes we've created to prompt them to think about changes in physical ability or cognitive ability. So there's one I'm thinking of in particular where the person develops epilepsy. So instead of thinking exclusively about cognition, she's also worried about things like falling over and the edges in her home. And then they work together to figure out what would be necessary to make this house work for that person now. What's that going to cost? Are we getting to the point where we would be better moving? And just really gamifying that whole process.
And we've used a range of social science methods, all of which inform the game in different ways. So we've analysed the background and the context of housing by looking at big data large social surveys. We've looked at older people's own views in a very detailed, qualitative way, and we've also explored the views of professionals. We've looked at how different groups of these people respond to a design that we've developed in response to their comments. So we've had a profoundly iterative process in arriving at what's actually in the serious game.
So the serious game really sits at the end of Deshka, and it's one of our highlight legacy pieces that we've developed because it's drawing on literally every piece of research activity that we've done until this point. And it's turning that into a really nuanced and creative tool that can be used as part of a research method if what you're interested in is the conversations that are happening. But it can also be used as an activity in and of itself if you are, for example, in a team or running a group where you want to have these discussions around what adaptation might look like or what some of the challenges might be. And the serious game can function there in a way that really encourages creative thinking and breaking outside of habits and paradigm thinking that we might more naturally fall into, particularly if we work in that situation a lot.
We've had a number of different groups play the game, and they've all found different benefits from it. So we've had older people play it amongst themselves, and that's helped them think through what might happen in their own futures. We've had older people play it alongside professionals who may be architects, town planners, local authority officials, housing association staff, and that has worked really well to help the professionals think through what the people actually need, and for the people to think through what might and might not be practical and available.
One of the things that struck me is that across the whole SBDRP programme, the collaboration of academics, older people, practitioners and business has led to a huge range of outputs, a huge range of communications with different audiences.
We're also developing a design brief, which is going to bring together all the recommendations about design, both for new build and for retrofitting, which will operate at a number of different levels. So for the ordinary person ageing in their own home, we already have developed a series of tips and tricks at very cheap prices and make possibly a really big difference. It'll go from that to a technical recommendation about how a new build might be specified and might be built. So it'll be suitable for everybody from the ordinary person to the professional in the field.
Judith Phillips put in a nutshell why innovations like the serious game really work.
Healthy ageing, of course, is not just a single market. It's not just economic innovation that we are driving, but also social innovation and social transformation. So social science has played a huge part here in developing what we can call, I think, a hybrid market, both the economic and the social innovation pieces, connecting different types of actors, different types of innovations, and very much driving that through social science and arts and humanities. So coming up with new ideas that stimulate and address social innovation.
All the people I spoke to for this podcast explained to me how these ways of working, with social sciences as a major part of a multidisciplinary approach, have allowed projects to think big in terms of impact.
We are looking at enhancing the evidence base to inform new design, but we're also looking at the very big challenge of scalability. So what we're doing is not intended to be an experiment. It's intended to produce something that can be rolled out at scale and have a real influence on the sector. So, for example, working with housing associations, working with local authorities, is enabling us to have a real influence on the retrofitting of social housing. And what we're currently engaged in doing is working with the construction sector to make sure that as future houses are built. They support healthy cognitive ageing, which is something that affects everybody.
I think one of the nice things about having this real world focus is that it hasn't just driven us to look at the negatives. What we are finding is that pretty much anyone we speak to, any professional, any industry, really has a willingness and a drive to do their best possible work. So what that's allowed us to do is really narrow in and see what are the barriers that are getting in their way and what can we do to really target and address some of those, whether that is feeding into policy, whether that is developing tools for them, whether that is raising awareness, because they recognise that we have to take those really practical actions.
Although the outputs from the SBDRP programme have traction in many sectors, Chris Phillipson brought me back to earth with the huge challenges still facing an ageing population.
If we think broadly about the social sciences, despite the enormous gains in life expectancy over the last 50, 100 years, if you like, there are still real issues, considerable inequalities which people and communities face. The issue of ageism, discrimination against older people, whether it's issues about retirement, whether it's issues about long-term care, whether it's issues about the provision of pensions, these require answers in terms of supporting people in the latter stage of their lives. We should use social sciences to help people feel more in control of their lives. And I think that's a real challenge to address.
I want to end this podcast with a short poem written by a co-researcher I work with, Ruby. The good news is I woke up this morning. The bad news is I'm getting older. I say getting older is a blessing. They say nobody wants to get older. I thought I would never get to this age, and I do know I do things slower, more than I used to.